right, good evening, everybody. So just over a month ago, I had the opportunity to tell you guys about BevCanna and some of the moves that they were making within the infused and health and wellness CPG space. Today, we're going to be talking again about BevCanna, but more specifically about the emerging news that has kind of come out over the past 40 days or so. They now built a leverage partnership with a company that allows them to distribute across Canada. They've also signed 2 private label agreements. They've signed on 2 people on the sales team, one specifically working at Unilever in the past and one also working at Colgate-Palmolive. And they've also made an international distribution agreement to be able to sell things in the Philippines, Japan, and China. So this builds on a lot of the stuff that we talked about last time when we talked about this company, specifically talking about people that used to work at Planters and all these other high CPG sort of spaces, having executives from other highly known CPG companies like Planters, Mike's Hard Lemonade, not to mention countless others. I think this is going to continue to be a company that is something that you should watch as they continue to grow internationally as well as grow within Canada and starting to gain operations as well in the United States. So let's get a little bit more specifically into the details. Hope you guys enjoy. Cheers. All right, everyone. So let's talk a lot about the Natura Group's expansion, utilizing their health and wellness products and expanding that into the Asia Pacific markets, more specifically Japan, and more specifically China, and more specifically the Philippines as well. And they're doing this through e-commerce, retail, wholesale, doing distribution through a partnership that is essentially going to be taking care of a lot of the material with I think $500,000 sort of minimum guarantee up to potentially $5 million in terms of the upward potential of this. I think this is a huge beginning footprint for the CPG space, specifically BevCanna, going into the e-commerce market in the Southeast Asia Pacific market. It gives them an opportunity to access about 1.6 billion people and allows them to truly look forward into further expansion. Now, when we get a little bit more into specifically where else they want to put into stores these particular products, more specifically the health and wellness products like the Trace product that I talked a little bit more about in my last video. You can see now that they're selling it mostly in the United States, Canada, as well as Europe, but they're also expanding into Japan, they're expanding into Dubai, they're also expanding into China as well as we get into the Philippines as well. So I think that is mostly the thing that you want to consider as it continues to grow. And this isn't necessarily specifically infused cannabinoid products like what we might have talked about in the last video. This is specifically talking about the health and wellness products of Trace. That is this water that you see here, specifically focusing on flavored waters and nutrient-infused waters that come from the natural aquifer that is owned by the Natura Group, and it is wholly owned, obviously, now by BevCanna. And so it gives an opportunity to specifically provide that great aquifer source that they have in the warehouse that they have, and distribute that now into the Southeast Asia market, where there's about 1.6 billion customers. So I think that's huge. I think that just shows that they're beginning to become more of a global brand rather than specifically focusing on the United States, specifically focusing on Canada. They're starting to get into other markets as well, and huge markets at that. They're not talking small markets with several 100,000 people. We're talking about 1.6 billion people that have the ability to potentially buy these products as it continues to ramp up in time and space. So another item that I want to talk about here is specifically the partnership to launch the cannabis-infused products from Keef, which is a wholly owned product of BevCanna across Canada. So all the different stores across Canada that Sigma Grow has had control over and has had distribution into, it allows them to basically get into every province within Canada. So you now will have basically a huge array of products that will be able to go into distribution from the Keef product line into all these different provinces across Canada. So I think that is a huge piece that will allow ramping up of the product line within BevCanna's sort of warehouse, that warehouse that provides up to 210 million bottles product every single year, and not necessarily lose the strength of that aquifer that they're attached to. So I think that is generally a good thing that is kind of coming out of this partnership. as they're still being able to utilize that nice aquifer that they have. And speaking of that aquifer, they're going to be able to do this private label agreement with State B Beverages, another partnership that was developed at the end of the month last month that allows them to continue to ramp up production. And this one is specifically focusing on a British Columbian beverage brand called State B. And this is also going to be pertaining to the cannabis-infused part, not necessarily the health and wellness like the trace products that we're kind of talking about expanding into Southeast Asia, but more specifically the CBD and THC infused products. And coupling that with the next day, they announced another article talking about their partnership that they now just signed with Enthusiasmus Incorporated, which is also specifically going to be utilizing BevCanna's distribution network and private labeling distribution facility to be able to also manufacture THC and CBD infused beverages for that company as well. So I think that this is another testament to the global brand that BevCanna is continuing to try to build, and it will try to compete in this naturally growing CBD infused market, and also just the health and wellness market as well. And so I think that they're going to continue to see some great strengths coming out of this going forward. The key thing that I want to talk about is they're continuing to increase their sales team, more specifically talking about their executive sales team. We have basically added two great people, one from Unilever, one from Colgate-Palmolive, one of which has done his own entrepreneurial things and has also worked, if you guys are more familiar with some of the Canadian water companies that are out there, working with Ice Age Glacial, which is a good water company coming out of Canada as well. So you guys might be familiar with that company. And so basically promoted two gentlemen to VP of Sales and Insights, and another gentleman to VP of Sales and Sales Operations. So first and foremost, Raphael comes as a CPG industry leader in sales, and he's the gentleman that worked at Ice Age Glacial and basically has also worked at SC Johnson and Unilever in the past, and basically is going to be utilizing that expertise and understanding of the CPG space from those companies and bringing that into BevCanna as he gets into the sales VP role. Same thing with Bill, over 20 years of experience in the CP industry. This gentleman worked at Colgate-Palmolive, working with a lot of great people, and he's going to also be moving into a sales VP position at BevCanna. So all great news, more specifically about the expansion coming in the trace products, which is from the Natura Group, which is wholly owned subsidiary of BevCanna. Gladly looking at this one as we continue to move forward. Curious to see if they end up going into Australia or anything of the like in the future. So I'll be sure to keep up with you guys in the future, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.